Hello and welcome back to Nerd Doc. In this video we're going to break down She-Hulk Episode 3, along with the post-credit scene, music from the episode, and a few Easter eggs. That means there will be spoilers for She-Hulk Episode 3 in this video. If you do not wish to be spoiled, you can check out our spoiler-free review of the first 4 episodes linked in the description below, along with all of our other She-Hulk videos. There are chapter timestamps, so you can jump around the video if you'd like, and if you have any questions about the episode or the show in general, leave a comment below. We'll begin with the music from the episode. Unfortunately, we can't play any of the songs here because of YouTube copyright, but you can find all of the music from the episode in the description below, with Spotify and YouTube links where applicable. The 2 main songs from the episode are Seize the Power by Yonaka, which played during the first part of the credits, and Body by Megan Thee Stallion, which played during the end credits following the post-credit scene. At the end of She-Hulk Episode 2, Jen found out that Emil Blonsky, the Abomination, escaped prison to go fight against Wong in the scene from Shang-Chi. Episode 3 opens with Jen back at the prison to talk to Emil about what happened because his escape is a big problem for his upcoming parole hearing. Emil blames Wong for what happened, claiming he forced him to go to the Fight Club. Throughout the episode, there's a media circus about She-Hulk and the fact that she's repping Emil. There are lots of rumors about how she was rejected from the Avengers, and that she's dating Abomination and having his baby. This is all standard media craziness, but there is one scene that's a deep cut for Marvel Comics fans. It's an interview with Gideon Wilson, the lawyer who originally put Abomination away after the events of the Incredible Hulk. In the comics, Gideon Wilson is the brother of Sam Wilson, the one-time Falcon and current Captain America in the MCU. We already met Sam's sister in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, but there wasn't much mention of his brother, so we don't know if Gideon Wilson is still Sam's brother in the MCU. For a time, Gideon did get powers after exposure to gamma radiation, and he is connected to the Hulk in the comics, but at the moment it doesn't appear as though any of that will happen in the She-Hulk series, as this is likely just a deep-cut cameo for comic fans. Jen meets Mallory Book, who is another lawyer at the GLK&H law firm. In the comics, Mallory is a rival and eventually good friend of Jennifer Walters. They start as rivals because at one point Mallory was on a winning streak, but Jen's interference caused her to lose that streak. In the comics, this was a case involving Hercules, who was just recently introduced into the MCU in Thor: Love and Thunder. Hercules isn't likely to show up in She-Hulk, but the connection is at least there. Mallory is also injured in the comics when Titania burst into the law firm looking for She-Hulk. There's definitely potential for that to happen in the show, but we'll have to see. Mallory also eventually became a partner at the firm, taking Holloway's seat after a case in which she defended the leader, who was featured in The Incredible Hulk, so we may get to see that play out in the MCU at some point, although probably not in Season 1 of She-Hulk. Dennis Bukowski, Jen's former associate at the DA's office, was at GLK&H because he wanted to sue a shape-shifting light elf named Runa. While light elves exist in the comics, most can't shapeshift, which is normally a dark elf thing, and there's no light elf named Runa, so this is a new character for the MCU. Runa had tricked Dennis into thinking he was dating Megan Thee Stallion. Due to Jen and Dennis's past history of not really being friends, and also with Dennis being a huge male chauvinist, he won't let She-Hulk rep him, and instead asks to be repped by her co-worker, Augustus Puglisi, who goes by Pug and has a crush on She-Hulk in the comics. Wong interrupts the meeting, and Jen talks to him about Abomination. Wong name-drops the Mirror Dimension, Shadow Dimension, and erasing everyone's memories, a nod to Spider-Man No Way Home. Shifting back to Dennis and Pug, after Dennis leaves the meeting, he seemingly returns with a change of heart, only to find out that it wasn't actually Dennis, but the shape-shifting Runa trying to get the case dropped. This is discovered when the real Dennis calls Pug during the meeting, boasting that he owns a Cybertruck, the currently unreleased Tesla electric truck that's due out next year in the real world. Dennis's Cybertruck got towed because he thought a handicapped parking spot was actually a Cybertruck parking spot. Later on at Abomination's parole hearing, Wong is late, but does his part in confirming he forced Emil to leave his cell. Emil also has a cult of sorts. There are 7 women who kind of worship him in a cult-like fashion. They met him through the prison pen pal program, bought him a house and land, and he refers to them as his better eighths because there are 7 of them plus Emil, so saying better half wouldn't exactly work. Anyway, Emil is granted parole and makes Jen realize she needs to take control of the media coverage surrounding She-Hulk. At one point, as Jen is leaving the prison, she's asked if there's any truth to the rumors that she got her powers from a mafia hit gone wrong. This is a direct nod to She-Hulk's comic book origin story in which the blood transfusion between Jen and Bruce happened after a mafia hit gone wrong. The creative team behind the series opted not to go that route because the mafia story would have taken too much time to tell correctly. Jen decides to do a TV news interview, but not before the show shifts back to Dennis's case. Jen is brought in to testify to confirm that Dennis is stupid enough and so self-absorbed that he would actually believe he's dating Megan Thee Stallion. The real Megan is also in the audience at the courthouse to watch the proceedings. Later on, Jen does the interview on TV to try to take control of the media circus. It goes relatively well, but once she arrives home in her Prius for the final scene of this episode, she's confronted by the MCU version of the Wrecking Crew. At the moment, this is a very loose version of the Wrecking Crew without comic-accurate costumes and powered down considerably. In the comics, they all have weapons that were powered up by Karnilla, the Norn Queen, and ally to Loki. It's a long story, but Wrecker, the leader of the Wrecking Crew, gets powers from Karnilla, which are then transferred to his crowbar and eventually onto everyone else in the Wrecking Crew and to their weapons. So when She-Hulk asks if they robbed an Asgardian construction worker, while that did not happen in the comics, it is a nod to the fact that their weapons and powers originally came from dealing with Loki and Asgard. The Wrecking Crew consists of Wrecker, Piledriver, Bulldozer, and Thunderball. Wrecker has the crowbar, Thunderball has the ball and chain, Bulldozer has the helmet, and Piledriver doesn't have a weapon in the comics, but seems to have empowered bracers here. All of them are basically on par with Captain America in terms of superhuman strength and durability in addition to their weapons, but that clearly isn't the case in the show, at least not yet. They may end up getting powers later on because they're working for someone else. Our best guess is that they're working for Abomination or possibly Val. Based on the events of this episode, we know that they were after Jennifer Walters' blood, which we learned in the first episode has the ability to turn people into Hulks. That was definitely foreshadowing, so it won't be surprising if at some point the Wrecking Crew, or maybe even someone else, gets turned into Hulks, and She-Hulk has a much harder time fighting them off. That would help explain the lack of powers right now for the Wrecking Crew. Another little note is that in the comics, the Wrecking Crew eventually becomes part of the Hood's gang. The Hood is being introduced in the Ironheart series that's coming next year. It would certainly be interesting to see a fully powered up comic book version of the Wrecking Crew show up in Ironheart as part of the Hood's gang after the events of She-Hulk. We may not get that connection in the MCU, but it's there in the comics. In the post-credit scene, She-Hulk is back in her office signing Megan Thee Stallion as a new client. Megan was impressed by She-Hulk during the court case, and She-Hulk is now signing on as Megan's new lawyer. The two of them twerk while Body by Megan Thee Stallion plays in the background. She-Hulk is a big fan of Megan and claims she would kill for her, which is a bit much for Megan as the scene comes to an end. Now She-Hulk heads up the superhuman law division of the firm, which means that she shouldn't technically really be taking on normal clients, so either this is an exception or Megan is actually a superhero. We may never know. Anyway, so what did you think of She-Hulk's twerking and the Wrecking Crew? Let us know in the comments below. For now, that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who loves Megan Thee Stallion.